Hey, I think we're going live now. I think we are live now. Anyway, going. And it looks like the mic's working. I think I remember to plug everything in. I think I got it all set up. So we should be good to go. Let me get the disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump into it. This is a weekly live broadcast pretty much every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock Central right now. We're doing this. If you're not getting your comments answered, your questions answered, because I haven't been very good at responding to comments lately, then jump in here on a Thursday evening, 8 o'clock Central Time, and that's where we can usually get it answered. I don't have a topic planned out. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the broadcast itself, in the live chat itself. Sometimes I miss one, but most part I get them all, unless you guys are talking to each other. And somebody said no sound. I see sound coming through. I mean, I see the sound. Yeah, somebody else said I have sound. So, yeah, everybody else is saying they have sound. Oh, it was your fault. Never mind. Sound is good. Okay, sorry. Got distracted there for a minute. Want to make sure I didn't go through too much of disclaimers before we got going. So anyway, again, those of you guys that are here all the time, you know the drill. This is Ask Me Anything. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. Just keep it polite, family-friendly. Don't be rude with anybody. Don't call anybody names. We can have good disagreements and we can debate things. I love a good debate. I have a lot of fun with that. But there's no reason to resort to like name calling, hatefulness, any of those kinds of things. So as long as we keep that in mind, everything's going to be fine. We won't have to kick anybody out. Let's jump into it. We got Justin Mitchell here. Says, hello, I got some fruit trees on sale for 10 each. But they don't look all that great. Any idea on how to fix them? I don't know what kind due to the tags being off. Boy, I'm not sure I'm not a great, big tree expert necessarily, but I would say, make sure you water them. You probably want to get them out of the pots that they're in and get them planted. They could be a little bit on the root bound side. You're going to want to water them pretty regularly, especially in the summertime. You're going to need to water them pretty heavy. If you can put up some kind of shade over the top of them too, so they don't get baked in the sun, that's going to help a lot. Usually it's best to plant trees really in the fall, in the dormant stage, not in the middle of summer, but it is what it is. I mean, you could try to up pot them to bigger pots, but that's probably going to be a big pain. I'm not really the expert on that. We'll see if somebody else can come around and tell you what to do with trees that are struggling right now. I would say a good fertilizer for them too, but I don't know what a good fertilizer for your trees would be. So I would say research the, how to fertilize them maybe. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. It's just out of my area of expertise. All the trees I've gotten, I've always planted in the fall and try to make sure I water them pretty regularly, and that's it. And they either make it or they don't. Most of them make it, but occasionally I lose one. So I don't know if I'm your best source of information for fruit trees, honestly. Don, good evening from South Central Illinois. Well, good evening to you, Don. And Scrap 5000 here says, greetings from New York City. Smash that like button. Thank you very much. Ed's here. Good to see you, Ed Got Bait. Says, good evening. Hi, Chris. Good evening to you as well. And let's see. We got Princess Cruiser here. Hello to you. Jesse Mills, good to see you. Let's see. I'm getting through all the people saying no sound. There is sound. Florida Living 53 says, awesome. Hello from Florida. I can hear you. Well, good. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me know. And welcome to the live broadcast. Thanks for joining us. Where else we got here? Harley Gates says, hi, my quail are laying eggs, but the eggs aren't hatching. Any tips? Oh, boy, that's wide open. I mean, so you're incubating the eggs yourself, but not getting them to hatch? I'm guessing that's what we're talking about right here. If that's the case, first things first, always get an external thermometer, throw it in your incubator, verify that it's actually reading the temperature correctly. That's usually the issue when you're not getting eggs to hatch, is to check that. Also, make sure your eggs are fertile. When you said your quail are laying eggs, I don't know how long they've been laying eggs. I don't know how many roosters you have to how many hens. There's so much there that it could be. It's hard for me to know for sure. So let's start off. How many roosters do you have versus how many hens do you have? Start with that. Secondly, are you incubating them yourself? And have you verified that your incubator is reading temperature correctly? Those would be the first things I would start off. And then what temperature are you setting your incubator at? If it is being read correctly. Anyway, all right, let's go from there. If you can answer those questions, we'll see if we can get a better answer for you. Florida Living says, any good recipes on cooking rabbit? Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, cook it like you would chicken, but stay away from like fried. You want to really go because it's too lean. It's really too lean to fry, in my opinion. It does better braised or anything like crock pot or pressure cooker or any of that kind of stuff with when you're going to add some kind of liquid to it, like a chicken broth or something like that, and cook it with that. I think those all do really, really well. You could do a basic saute with it, which is really good too. Lightly bread it, brown it in some oil or bacon grease or whatever you like. Brown it, just brown the outside. That's all. And then throw in whatever vegetables you like, which would be like for me would be like usually like let's see with rabbit probably do mushrooms, maybe some carrots, celery, onion. Throw those in the pot. Remove the rabbit from the pan. Throw all that stuff in, saute that down a little bit, throw in some flour to thicken it up like a roux, basically, and then some heavy cream or something like that to basically make a gravy. Put those rabbit pieces back in, cover it, let it cook until it's done, which 20, 30 minutes, something like that at a simmer. Though that would be really good too. I've also done, if you want something that's super easy, that turns out pretty good, I've done those McCormick bag-in seasonings for chicken. So you buy them at the grocery store, and it's like it comes with a plastic bag. You're supposed to use chicken. You're supposed to put your vegetables in, your chicken in. You dump the seasoning in the bag. You seal it off. You put it in a baking dish and bake it in the oven. Works great for rabbit and squirrel for that matter. It does pretty good for squirrel too. So anyway, those are a couple of things that you can do with rabbit to cook it. Any of those things work really, really well. Crock pot with, some vegetables. Just there's a lot of different ways you can do it. There's S.O. Swanson from Mississippi. Good to see you. Florida Living says, let's see, I had one quail egg, solid brown and shiny. Yeah, that happens sometimes. You get some weird quail eggs from time to time. It's nothing to worry about. It's not necessarily an indication of anything. It's just how it is there. Jama Mike says, hey, all lately you've streaming when another YouTube I watch is streaming. Well, yeah, and if you want to watch the other one, that's okay. Doesn't hurt my feelings. It's all good, but thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. And sorry, I can only do it at certain times. I don't have just an unlimited free schedule. Hopefully things change at work. I can go back to doing it at 7:00 Central. Would work better for me. But right now it's 8:00 Central Thursday evenings. That's what time I have available. Child of God says, good evening. Good evening to you too. And Ben says, hi, Ben at Black Bear Family Farms. Glad to join. Well, I'm glad you're here too. Thanks for joining us. Princess Cruiser says, is it just me or is the stream freezing a bit for you guys? Harley Gates says yes. I don't know if you're saying yes to that. Hopefully, I don't think it's on my end. It could be. I've upgraded my internet recently. They offered me a free upgrade to a faster speed, so I shouldn't be freezing. It shouldn't be lagging on my upload, but it could be. I don't know if we're having lots of people having those issues or not. Dawn says it's fine for her, so I don't know. It may be on your end only, and I'm sorry you're having that issue. Justin says, how to keep grass hoppers out of my garden. Oh, boy, that's a good one. I'm not sure the best advice for you on that. Other than to say, I've never had huge issues with grasshoppers. I mean, we get them, but it's not a big deal. We usually have enough predators that kind of keep them in check. So, I've noticed that grasshoppers seem to be a bigger problem when there's lots of grass. So if you have like a field next to your garden that's really tall grass, if you can mow that or keep that grass cut short, that may help kind of reduce the numbers a little bit. Other than that, I don't know. There's always pesticides you could use, but I don't like to use pesticides. I just kind of let things take their course. And usually there's a predator for almost everything. Grasshoppers are not like Japanese beetles are an invasive species. There's no predator really that keeps those in check. So I use Japanese beetle traps for them, and those work great. But grasshoppers are a natural part of the environment. There should be predators out there for them. Things like praying mantis, I would think, probably some wasps and those kinds of things would do a pretty good job at trying to keep them in check. And I usually just rely on nature to kind of help me keep those things in check. Now, sometimes there are pests that get the better of me, and that doesn't always work, like squash bugs, for example. I have not found the good solution for squash bugs yet. That's why I didn't grow squash this year. But everything else seems to, for the most part, be kept in check. So I don't know if I have if you're having a horrible problem with grasshoppers in your garden, are they causing a lot of damage? And if they are, I just don't know the best answer for that. We'll see if somebody else has a good one. Let me see if there's a natural, let's see, organic solution to grasshoppers. They're saying neem oil is a turn against grasshoppers. Honestly, I've never found neem oil to be all that effective. But then again, it may be the kind of neem oil I'm getting. So you might want to look into that and see. I bought neem oil before, but I did see some videos a while back where somebody was talking about neem oil is not always a neem oil. It has to be a certain kind of neem oil. You may want to research that a little bit because I haven't actually done as much research as I need to on that. I haven't actually used a lot of it. I've tried neem oil before, but I don't know that I had the right kind because it was not very effective at all at keeping anything at bay. So that may work really well for you. Let's see if there's some other. There's a garlic and vinegar spray and hot pepper spray are common homemade remedies for home gardeners. There's also commercial grasshopper repellents. So you might look into that as well. I know that there are some, even though I don't like pesticides, there are some repellent type stuff. If it's species specific, if it only affects grasshoppers, I think that would work great. That'd be just fine. I just don't know because I haven't had that issue. So it's not really something I've worked on much. We'll see if somebody else has some better advice for you. I'm sorry, I can't give you the full out answer for that one. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like Princess Cruiser. It's working now. Good. I'm glad it's not freezing up anymore. Hopefully that continues. Florida Living says, I cooked on the barbecue. It was hard as a rock. The rabbit was. Yeah, I think it's because, I've smoked rabbit before and it's pretty good. But the way that we did it was we smoked it and then we vacuum sealed it in, a vacuum seal bag with some herbs and some butter. So I think that, and then whenever you go to serve it, later, because we just did a whole bunch of them at once, put them in the freezer or in the fridge. And then whenever you go to serve it, you just put that whole bag sealed and everything in like a pot of hot water and heat it up that way. And that probably kind of moisturized it, loosened it up a little bit. But yeah, it's awfully lean. So if you do it just like you would like on a barbecue, it's going to be tough because there's no fat in it. You could wrap it with bacon or something like that to add fat. That would help out quite a bit. That would actually be pretty good probably. But you're going to have to marinate it. You're going to have to do something. You could try brining it too. I've never actually tried brining a rabbit. Don't know why it wouldn't work though. I brine chickens and turkeys all the time. I've never actually brined a rabbit, so that might help as well. Harley says, I'm incubating the eggs. I have 4 roosters and 3 hens. Well, you got too many roosters, first of all, but that's not going to affect your hatch rate necessarily. What that's going to do is your hens are going to get overbred. You need like 1 rooster for every 4 to 5 hens, but that's okay. You can deal with that later. And you set the incubator to 91, and there's more to that, isn't there? I think we'll get to that here in a minute. Okay, second issue, 99.5 degrees, 99.1 degrees for a forced air incubator, 99.9 degrees for a still air incubator. And a forced air is with a fan in it. So if your incubator has a fan in it, you need it at 99.1 degrees or 99.3 degrees, right around in there. But 91 degrees is way too low. That's probably why you're not getting anything to hatch. Again, I would always suggest putting in an external thermometer of some kind. Just double check that it reads the same. I always get 2. That way, if they're not the same, you can, if you've got 2 of those that are reading the same, you can pretty much assume that that's accurate. Whereas if you've just got one incubator thermometer, one thermometer in the incubator, and they don't read the same, you don't know which one's right. So that's why I say get 2 thermometers, throw them in there, verify that your incubator is actually reading temperature correctly. That's probably good. But it sounds like you're incubating on way too low. Sage Wolf says, hello to everyone. Hello to you too. Thanks for joining. Florida Living says, no, it's good here. I don't know what that is. Probably a reference to somebody. Ed saying no problems on my end. That's probably we're talking about it freezing up. Florida Living says, I learned a lot from your videos. Thanks for sharing. Teaching a girl tomorrow how to butcher quail. Well, awesome. Thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate that. That's why I do the videos, is I like to teach. I like to help people out. I'm glad to hear that you are learning stuff from it, that you're finding it helpful. Good luck with your class tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to go great. Andy says, Florida living for barbecue rabbit, try indirect heat, low and slow cooking, and basting often. Yeah, that's not bad advice. Jam and Mike says, get some geese to mow the grass. Yeah. Or goats, right? Well, goats don't really do a good job with grass, but sheep would, I guess. Mary says, something is eating all my baby dinosaur kale. What would it be? Natural way to protect my plants. You know what I think you should do is probably let them eat it, especially if they're eating just that, because kale is nasty. But on a serious note, I think the idea is, or the thing you need to do is figure out what's eating it. I mean, that's going to be the key. As far as kale goes, I mean, there's a ton of different things that would eat it. I would look at probably cabbage moths. I would think that those would be a high likelihood of being a predator if it's not like Japanese beetles or something like that. If you have Japanese beetle problems, those bag traps for Japanese beetles, those work, and they reduce your numbers significantly over time. So like I put them up the first year I used those, I had a huge problem with Japanese beetles. They were everywhere. I put the bag up and it filled up like quick. It was like within like 2 weeks, it was completely full. I had to throw it away, put another bag up. I went through 2 or 3 bags completely full that season. Then the next season, it was like maybe 2 bags the entire season. And then the season after that, it was 1 bag. It took the entire season to fill it up. And then after like this year, I didn't even put one out until really, really late because I thought I was having some Japanese beetle issues. I put it out and it took forever for any of them to get in. And now it's been out for weeks and I've got, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so in there total. That's it. I didn't even put a trap out last year. I didn't see a single Japanese beetle. So those work. Those decrease their numbers over time. They do a good job with that. A lot of people will tell you, don't put those traps out because they draw beetles in from everywhere. Well, who cares? Kill them all. They're invasive. They're not supposed to be here. Attract them from everywhere. Put them in the bag. I don't care. But that's just the way I think about it. Now, if it is cabbage worms that you're having issues with, I would look at BT. BT is like a naturally occurring, is it a I don't know I can't remember if it's a proton, it's a bacteria, something like that, but it is specific to caterpillars and things. It won't affect anything else. It occurs in nature and you can buy it and actually treat your plants with it. And that will take care of caterpillar problems and things like that. And it won't affect anything else. You don't have to worry about it affecting your pollinators, your predator bugs, any of those things, just caterpillars. That's all it's going to affect. So that's what I would look at. Without knowing what kind of damage you're getting, the other thing that might be an issue is slugs. Probably, I mean, it depends. It could be slugs. If it's slugs, then buy a slug bait. They're again, those are species specific, not going to affect anything but slugs and snails. So those are the 3 options that I can kind of come up with without knowing exactly what it is that's attacking your kale. Kale, is it kale? Yeah, kale. So hopefully that helps. I don't know if it does or not. It could be tricky to figure out what it is that's attacking your plants. If you had pictures of it, you can look it up online and see what kind of, damage. The problem is that, slugs and snails are going to look very similar to caterpillar damage, probably. You can go out there at night with a flashlight and look, and you might be able to catch bugs in the process. Especially if it is slugs, snails, or caterpillars, they're a little bit easier to see at night. So those would be a few things. Maybe somebody else has got some other suggestions too. Old Trapper says, what's the best type of quail for preppers and survivalists? And I assume, I don't know if you're asking like, what's the best type of Coturnix quail or what's the best type of quail? Because Coturnix is the way to go. If you want to raise them for meat and eggs, it's Coturnix quail. You don't want to do Bob Whites or any of those others. Coturnix are the ones that are going to breed for you, produce eggs very regularly, and they grow fast. I mean, that's the meat and egg production. Honestly, if you're worried about prepping and survival, quail might not be the best option. I mean, it's one to add to everything else you're doing, but don't expect to be able to rely on just quail alone. As far as the best type of Coturnix quail, in my opinion, it's Jumbo Pharaoh, or what they call Jumbo Meat Maker, Jumbo Wild. It's all Jumbo Brown. I mean, it's all the same kind of bird. They're easy to sex. You can just feather sex them and look at them and tell there's a male, there's a female. They're as big as any of the other birds out there. They produce just as many eggs as any of the other kinds of Coturnix quail. They're the best option, in my opinion, if you're looking for just meat and egg production. So those are the ones I would go with. Hopefully that answers the question for you. S.O. Swanson says, for grasshoppers, you can also sprinkle flour. Oh, wait, I missed one. Florida Living says 1 teaspoon of peroxide per 8 ounces of water will get rid of the grasshoppers. Interesting. Didn't know that. S.O. Swanson says for grasshoppers, you can also sprinkle flour on your plants to keep them from eating your greens. Oh, okay. There you go. There's 2 options for you. Of course, you'd have to do that every time it rains or every time you water because you'll wash it off. But, that's a good options. Hey, there's Tony from Toronto. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Amos says, is it possible to remove rabbit fur and use dehydrated hide for dog treats like rabbit ears? I suppose you could. I've never done it, actually. Removing the rabbit fur, I don't know the best way to go about that, but I don't know that I'd worry about that too much. If I was going to do that, I'd probably cut it in strips or, maybe dehydrate it and then break it in smaller pieces. But dogs can have the fur. I mean, it's not going to hurt your dog to eat something that has fur on it. It's perfectly natural. In fact, it's extra fiber. It's not bad for them at all. I would just leave the fur on it. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. I don't see why you couldn't. Scrap 5000 says that brining rabbit is great. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I've actually never brined a rabbit. I don't know why. I just haven't done it. But yeah, I can imagine it's a great way to do it. It works great for chicken. It works great for turkey. Why wouldn't you do it with rabbit? Makes sense. Florida Living says baking soda also works for grasshoppers. Well, there you go. Sage Wolf says, I think ducks like to eat grasshoppers. They may also eat your garden. Yeah, well, they may. But if you could keep them out of the garden, and maybe they would patrol it around the edges and keep the grasshoppers out too. And Jammin' Mike says, I just read geese will eat grasshoppers. Yep, they would for sure. There's lots of things that will eat grasshoppers as far as livestock goes. Well, lots of things. Chickens, geese, ducks. I mean, yeah, those are kind of the ones that come to mind. But yeah, they will eat them for sure. S.O. Swanson says the only problem with geese is that they are walking lawnmowers. May not want them in the garden. Yeah, you probably wouldn't want them in your garden for sure, but if you have it fenced off, Andy Rabbit's saying that's so true, Steve. I had them once and they stripped the lawn in about 2 months. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad to maybe pin them up in the field around your garden so that they could keep that mowed down for you and keep the grasshoppers out that way, maybe. I don't know. Scrap 5000 says, has anyone tried hanging up Irish Spring soap to repel flies? I have not, but Hartley Gates says, yes, it works. That's a great suggestion. I always have people asking me how to control flies. I don't have huge problems with flies either because I get black soldier fly larvae in my manure piles and they keep the flies at bay. But yeah, that Irish Spring soap, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Hey, there's Jasmine Bass. Look, she made it. Long time no see. I'm just saying that because she says, hey, Chris and friends, long time no see. All my fault, maybe the goats. Glad to be listening in tonight. Well, hey, we're glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I was just picking on you. Don't worry about it. You don't ever have to apologize for not being here or anything like that. We're always happy to have you. But I understand that you have a life outside of, coming to my live broadcast. So if you got other things going on, that's all good. I am not upset about that. Let's see. So and Tear, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Says, hey to everyone from Gilroy, California. I just gave blood, so resting and listening only tonight. We'll be processing rabbits Saturday morning before the heat starts. I hope everyone is doing well. Well, thank you. I hope you're doing well too. I've got I got to work on Saturdays now, so I'm stuck working on Saturday. But Sunday, we're going to be processing meat chickens. So, but it won't be before the heat. My sister went in half on the chickens with us, so she's going to come over to help. And then because it's Sunday, we got to wait till after church, of course. So it's going to be, right in the middle heat of the day. Hopefully it won't be too hot, and we've got a good shady spot to do it. So we'll see. So and Tara says, if going to take the fur off, could scald before gutting like they do for pigs. You could. That's not a terrible idea either. There's Sundial Fragrances. Says, hello, Chris and y'all from Houston, Texas. Well, thank you for joining. And I've been to Houston many, many times. It's not a bad area. A little too big of a town for my taste, but it's not a bad area. Old Trapper says, thank you for answering my question, buddy. You're absolutely welcome. I don't always have the best answers, but I do my best to try to help anyway. So and Tara says, one summer I trained a black phone. I don't think that's probably not what that's supposed to say. That's probably like a typo of some kind. But it says, one summer I trained a black phone to come when I called because I put a freshly killed grasshopper up on a stump. I'm not sure what that it's probably not black phone. It's probably something else, but I don't know what. I'm running through all kinds of things in my head. What a black what to come? I don't know. Andy Rabb, well, she's talking to Jasmine. So and Tara says, I tried Irish Spring soap. I think it has to be applied frequently. Let's see. Florida Living says, awesome. Brian the Rabbit sounds great. Thanks. Yep. Give it a try. See how it goes. I haven't actually tried it, but again, I don't see why it wouldn't work. It seems like a great idea to me. Florida Living says, I have to fix a particular type of way so my husband doesn't know he's eating rabbit. He thinks it's chicken. Well, then I would do something like crock pot it with some chicken broth, shred it, pick all the bones out, shred it up, make enchiladas, make, whatever, you can do whatever, same thing you would do with shredded rabbit, do something like that. I don't know if I agree with like tricking someone, into eating something they don't want to eat, but it's not my life. You can do whatever you want. I never felt comfortable trying to trick people into things. I'd always tell them what it was before I fed it to them, but except for, well, no, I would do that with my son too. He was the pickiest eater in the world. Now he's better, but he was picky when he was a kid. Bob says, hey, Chris, what part of raising quail do you find to be the most work? I just transferred 29 to the brooder, and I feel so relieved. The last week in the brooder is the worst with cleanings. Yeah, it for sure is. I've actually got it pretty easy right now because I'm using the brooder I got from Dale's Quail. They're medium-sized brooder, I think it is. And, I keep them on blue shop towels for about the first week and a half. And then it's got a wire bottom. So I just pull the shop towels out. All the droppings fall through. There's not a whole lot of cleaning. I just clean it all up once I'm done. And because it's not in the brooder, it's falling through. So I just catch the droppings underneath. And, usually in the summertime anyway, they're only in the brooder for 2.5 weeks. And then they're going out to the outside pen. So, but yeah, you're right. If you've got them in a brooder with a solid bottom, yeah, it's daily, sometimes twice a day cleaning, especially that last, couple of days. The biggest work is probably processing. When it comes time to process, that's probably the biggest amount of work. I've got it set up pretty simple with my setup. But yeah, that's for sure the most work, I think. All right, Jasmine says, haha, you're the best, Chris. I can handle a little messing with. Well, good. If you're going to be friends with me at all, you're going to have to be able to deal with a little bit of messing with. I just that way. You can mess with me too. I'll take a little bit of picking on, teasing. I'm okay with all that. S.O. Swanson says, shame at Florida Living 53. Keep up the good work. Tricking the husband. What? I don't know. Oh, S.O. Swanson. Okay. Okay, I got it now. I'm with you. You're saying keep up the good work tricking the husband. You were also saying shame for tricking the husband. I get it. Yeah. Florida Living says Irish soap is a great idea. Oh, okay. So and Tara finally she got it right this time. Says black phoebe autocorrect is just a type. It's a type of bird. A black phoebe is a type of bird. You trained a black phoebe, not a black phone. I knew it wasn't a black phone. I just didn't know what it was. So you trained a wild bird, I guess it is, to come to you because you put freshly killed grasshoppers up there. Interesting. Jasmine says we have 10 rabbits to process, 10 chickens, roosters, and 100 quail. Yep, that's a lot of processing, isn't it? Well, I've sold a bunch of my rabbits. So I'm down to like 6 rabbits, I think, that need to be processed. I may wait till next weekend to do those. I don't know. I may do them Monday. I'm off work on Monday now. So I may do them Monday. We'll see. But I've got 25 chickens. Actually, we had 26. I'll tell you kind of a funny story. It's not necessarily funny. I guess it's bad. But anyway, so we had a watermelon. I don't really like watermelon that much, but my wife likes it. So she picks one up every once in a while. And this one sat on the table and she forgot about it, I think. it started to go bad. It got a really soft spot that started to go bad. So she was going to take it out and throw it in the compost pile. I said, hey, the chickens would like that. So we threw it in the chickens, and we, threw it in there for them. When we threw it, it kind of busted open, and it just busted a big hole in the side of it right there. And of course, they went to town on it. And by the next day, they had it all cleaned out. Mostly, there was just a little bit left inside, but it was still pretty much a whole watermelon with just a hole about that big on one side of it. And they were all sticking their heads in there and eating it. And they looked like they had murdered somebody. They're all bloody looking, on their chest with the watermelon juice on it. Anyway, so the next day I go back out there and I'm thinking, well, I should get that watermelon out of there. And it was turned upside down with the whole side on the ground. I said, I should get that out of there. They're probably done with that. Take it out, go throw the rind in the compost pile. And I picked it up, and it was like heavier than it should have been, I thought. And I turned it over. There was a chicken inside that. He'd passed away. I don't know how in the world that happened, how he got inside the watermelon completely. Must have got it turned over on top of him. Probably died because couldn't figure out how to get out and suffocated. It was hot yesterday. So, and it wasn't in the morning. It was actually in the evening that I took it out. So I don't know exactly how that happened, but, lesson learned. Next time, cut it in half, cut it all the way open so you don't get a bird. I never would have thought a bird would get trapped underneath the watermelon and die. I mean, it was completely, all it was the rind. There was nothing, they cleaned it completely out. It was hollow, but there was a bird in there. I don't know how it happened, but anyway, so we lost one, but the rest are doing fine. Andy Rabbit says, some of my rabbits are getting up to butchering size. I'll be doing them soon. Yeah, I'm the same boat. I got mine are right there ready to go. Scrap 5000 says, great rabbit recipe. Look up rabbit cacciatore. Means rabbit a la hunter in Italian, sauteed in tomato sauce like a stew, but use red tomato sauce instead of brown gravy. Use San Marzano tomatoes. Yeah, I know what cacciatore is. That would be a good way to use it too. I imagine like a rabbit marsala, like you would do chicken marsala, but you do it with rabbit. That would probably be good too. Andy Rabbit said, I had eggs set and lost power for about 10 hours. I left the eggs. They started hatching on time yesterday evening. That is awesome. Yeah. Your incubator is actually pretty good. And also not only that, but you think about it when a hen's hatching eggs or something like that, she doesn't set on them 24 hours a day for the entire 14. I mean, she's got to get up and go get a drink of water or something every once in a while and leave them uncovered every once in a while. So they can take a little bit of that. I mean, it's best practice to avoid as much, drops and fluctuations in temperature as possible. But, if it's not that big a deal, if you're going to lose power for a little while, keep the incubator closed and chances are it's going to retain the heat and it's going to be just fine. Mark says, Chris, I just started raising king pigeons for meat. I highly recommend it. They taste amazing. They're around double the size of jumbo quail at butcher. They lay 16 babies a year, though. Yeah, I was going to say the only problem is they don't lay a whole lot, right? They only lay once a year. But yeah, that's a good suggestion. I've thought about adding pigeons for a while, but I really wanted to get homing pigeons because I just thought that'd be really cool. So I've thought about it. But yeah, I may do the same thing. I mean, they're basically just doves. It sounds weird, but they are doves. So, I mean, it's just dove. It's very closely related to quail. I mean, quail are similar to dove, in my opinion. So I don't see why they wouldn't be great. Florida Living says, that's a great idea. Give him gator. He liked when he thought it was chicken. He's a picky city boy. He calls me his little hillbilly. Yeah. So he was okay with you tricking him with the gator. So maybe he'll be okay with you tricking him with the rabbit as well. Who knows? David says, my doe rabbit just had babies and they were all dead. I'm in Texas. Could have been the heat. Previously, she had good litters. I'm guessing it probably was the heat. I mean, it is, especially in Texas. It's awfully hot right now. It's awfully hot right here right now. I have had losses in the summertime. It's just like they get too hot and they die. And I've actually had much better luck having breeding rabbits and having babies in the wintertime even when it gets below zero, and much better luck then than I have in the heat of summer. So I don't even breed in the heat of summer anymore. But yeah, my guess is probably the heat. Unfortunately, I'm sorry you had that problem. Give her a little bit of time and, try again. Give her till, well, for you, it's going to be probably another couple of months at least before it starts even starting to cool off, depending on what part of Texas you're in. Bob Cole says, I've had pretty small hatches. I use a Sterilite clear tub for a brooder. After a few groups, I cut out the bottom, added PVC coated wire on a wood frame, and zip tied it on. That's a great idea. That's a good suggestion. Joshua Davis says, hey, how are you doing, Chris? I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Tony says, I used some dog training pads the last week in the brooder, just roll up and take out. Yeah, I usually use blue shop towels. It's the same thing though. Basically, I just, roll them up and take them out. But, that last couple of days, depending on how many quail you have, because you usually have fairly decent size hatches, if you're using like a Sterilite tub, which I've used plenty of times, I still use from time to time, then that last, couple of days, once they get up to about, it's not so bad the first week and a half, but then after that, they start getting bigger. They start making more of a mess. You gotta roll them up, take them out, clean them out every single day, at least once a day. It gets pretty bad. Jasmine says, wow, crazy chicken. Yeah, I know. That's crazy, isn't it? I never would have thought, I think so. And Tara's saying the same thing. That's hilarious that it got inside. Not hilarious that it passed though. Pre-marinated. Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it was just one chicken. I mean, it's nothing to cry over necessarily, but at the same time, I do kind of feel bad because, that's probably a pretty miserable way to go, and I feel bad for the chicken. But anyway, Jasmine says, my rabbits love watermelon. Yeah, I think everything on the planet loves watermelon except for me. I don't really like watermelon. I don't like pineapple either. I really don't like pineapple. Watermelon I can eat. It's not my favorite. I just don't really care for it all that much. Bob Cole says, I made another frame from a 2x4 on the edge and cut a groove in it to hold a poop tray open on the front side out and clean. There you go. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. You made a frame to slide the dropping tray under the Sterilite container that has wire bottom. That's a great idea. Andy Rabbit says, do you have that chocolate youngster still, Chris? Nope, that one got sold. Somebody bought that one. So he's gone. I think it was a he. Pretty sure it was a male. I can't remember now. I'd have to look back. But yeah, he's gone. He's gone to somebody that's going to breed him and use him for a breeder. So and Tara says, oh, and Meatball is going to be a mama rabbit probably tomorrow, possibly the next day. She's huge. Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well. Hope you don't have any problems because of the heat. I don't know how hot it is there. Probably not that bad in California, is it? I don't know. Dawn says, wow, Chris, that was a freak accident with the watermelon. I think there should be air inside it. Yeah, but it could have been just because it's so hot out, it wouldn't take much. Florida Living says, that's a lot of quail. Just hatched another batch of 26 of them. Yeah, that's a pretty good number. Rose says, Murphy's Law. Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. Andy Rabbit says, and Florida Living said, wow. I think you're talking about the same thing, the chicken that got in the watermelon. Yeah, I don't even know how it got inside that water. It was almost as big as the watermelon. Andy Rabbit says, I'm up around 16 chicks that has hatched out already. Well, awesome. Hopefully you get a lot more. Marty says, hello, everyone. I almost missed you all tonight. We had bad storms blow through, and it blew the tarps off my rabbit hutches, so I was out covering them back up. Oh, well, at least everybody's okay, I hope. We had some storms move through last night, too. I didn't think they were bad. I slept right through it. And it rained pretty decent when I got up this morning. Thank goodness. We finally got rain. It's been like 2 months since we've had any rain. The bad thing is now I'm going to have to mow this weekend at some point. But we did get rain. And apparently it was a decent enough storm. I don't think it was bad. But I did notice a couple little, small twigs and things like that, like with still leaves on them, blown out of trees, basically. In the front yard, just a couple. And there was a tree down the road about 2 blocks that had a big limb had fallen over and was laying kind of out in the road a little ways. So I'm guessing that was from the storm that came through last night. But it didn't do any damage, didn't blow my tarps away or anything like that. So I don't guess it was that bad. Florida says, that's almost hilarious. A chicken inside the watermelon. Yeah, it was. It's kind of funny in a way. But Mark says, try out king pigeons. They have lots of babies. 16 babies a year isn't too little. Haha. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not very many, I guess. But if you had a couple of them, yeah, it's still not very many in my opinion. But it's not terrible. Florida Living says, how many weeks is best to butcher rabbits? Mine are 2.5 months old. You know, I typically go by size rather than how many weeks. So I try to get them up to close to 5 pounds, but I do try to make sure I process by about 12 to 14 weeks old. After that, they start to get into sexual maturity, and it really is just better to get them before that. I think the meat's a little bit better. It's not hugely different, but they do tend to be a little bit tougher as they get past, once they reach sexual maturity, start moving into adulthood, they tend to get the meat tends to get a little bit tougher. So I would try to do it by 12 to 14 weeks at the latest. Josh wants to know, how is my wife? She's doing great. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. But all is good right now. She's doing well. Let's see. Don says those kings would probably, to Mark, those kings would probably need completely different cages than quail too, right? Yeah, they would probably need a flight cage, I'm guessing. Mary says, I recently discovered wasp nests in the eaves of my chicken coop. I know spraying them with wasp spray in the evening is best, but I don't think it would be good for the chickens. Possibilities. Yeah, take a cup with a little bit of Dawn dish soap in it, fill it up with some water, get it real sudsy, throw it on that nest. All those wasps will fall to the ground and just stomp them. That's the easy way to do it. I don't use wasp spray anymore. Just a big cup, a little bit of Dawn dish soap in the bottom, fill it up with some water, get it good and sudsy. And like I said, just chuck that whole glass of water, that whole soapy water up on those wasps, and they'll fall to the ground. You can't see me, says butcher 8 to 12 weeks. Yep, there you go. Andy Rabbit says, I'm sorry, Chris, with a picture of a pineapple. Yeah, I know, I'm the weirdo. I don't really like citrus fruit. I mean, I do like lemon and lime on things, in things. But like orange, to eat an orange, drink a glass of orange juice, I don't like that at all. I don't like pineapple at all. Who knows? So and Tara says, supposed to be 95 Saturday and 100 Sunday. She's in good shade, though. Oh, well, yeah, that's pretty warm. I mean, that's about what we are here. For some reason, I thought you were a little bit cooler there. But yeah, good luck. I hope you don't have any issues. Jesse Mills says, I'm with you on pineapple, Chris. I like watermelon. I just prefer cantaloupe better. Now, I do like cantaloupe quite a bit. It's one of my favorites. And again, I'm not like, watermelon's not one of those things like I just hate watermelon. I just don't really care for it. It's just not, it doesn't taste like much of anything to me. It's just kind of blah. Jamin Mike says, not long ago, my bantam chicken decided to fly over 6 feet high and landed on the bypass side of the fence and showed back up a few days later and went right into the chicken coop or chicken lot when I opened the gates. So yeah, decided it didn't like living out there by itself, huh? And came back home, I guess. Well, you're lucky you that it came back home. Don says, what's the oldest you've been able to keep a cage of Coturnic roos successfully? I'm wanting to hold some for 9 to 10 weeks, and I'm keeping them in the dark. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever tried to keep roosters only, like a cage of just roosters. I've never tried to keep them longer than 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, somewhere right around in there, and then I just process them. So I haven't tried to do it any longer than that, but I've kept them up to 8 weeks just in a normal cage. But I don't know that I've never kept a cage of just roosters. It's always been a mix of roosters and hens, maybe like significantly more roosters than hens sometimes, but never just roosters by themselves. But I don't know that would be much different, honestly. So I've never tried to keep them longer than that. I always just process them. I mean, I don't see any reason to keep them around and feed them out longer. So, but 9 to 10 weeks, you should be fine. Here's Jupiter. Good to see you, Jupiter. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Florida Living says, Andy, yeah, they're at the point. This litter was 8. The female rabbits, chinchilla mix. The father is New Zealand and Flemish. I don't know what that was a response to exactly, but hopefully that's going well. Jasmine says, we got some of the leftovers from your storms last night, Chris. Thankful for some rain here too. Yeah, it was moving that. I mean, you always get the leftovers from our storms, right? I mean, they always move, pretty much always, that direction. That we get basically from the Tulsa area, comes through and then goes to you. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the rain was, it was raining this morning, like 5:30ish to about 6:15. We had pretty decent rain. It wasn't bad. I think we got a little over a quarter inch of rain all in all. So not a ton, but man, it was nice. It was nice to have some rain. So in Tara says, I process rabbits at 12 weeks. Yep, that's a good age to do it. Don says, all those storms and tornadoes that touched down here in Illinois missed me. Not one drop of rain. Darn it, we need the rain. Yeah, that's the way it's been here. We've had like storm chances in the forecast for like, it seems like every week there's storm chances in the forecast for like the last 2 months. And they always go around us. We haven't got a drop of rain in like, it's been, it seems like months and months and months. It's probably been a month and a half, 2 months since we've had any rain. Jupiter says, does your Dawn dish soap method work on carpenter bees? I'm sure it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. It works on wasps and stuff very well. So, and Tara says, homegrown cantaloupe is the best. Once you've had it, you'll never go back to store-bought. Well, yeah, I mean, it is the best for sure. I don't actually grow cantaloupe much because the problem I have with cantaloupe is I really like cantaloupe, but the problem I have is that they're so productive and they all go ripe at the same time. So it's like there's only so much cantaloupe I want. I don't know what to do with it all. So I don't actually grow it usually. I'll buy some every once in a while, especially if I can get it like at a farmer's market or something like that even. But I don't actually grow it very often. G. Michael says, I'd rather drink watermelon juice than eat the fruit. Yeah, that makes sense. I do have to, if I'm going to eat watermelon, cantaloupe for that matter is the same way. I always salt and pepper it though. I like salt and pepper on cantaloupe, and I like it on watermelon too if I'm going to eat watermelon. Andy Rabbit says, Dawn is trying to hold an Egyptian rooster or so for me until QuailCon weekend. Well, awesome. You get an extra rooster or something, huh? Where are we at here? So Don's saying to you, to Andy, like 6 to 7 Egyptian roos for you. There you go. 6 to 7 of them. Even better, huh? D says, have you ever made your own quail feed? If so, what did you put in it? I have never made my own quail feed. I always just buy a commercial feed. It's so much simpler and so much easier. Unfortunately, I don't have a good recipe for make your own quail feed. I'm sorry. I've been asked that. I need to research it, need to try to figure it out. I haven't done it. It's so much easier for me to just buy quail food and feed. Bob says, I had a hatch of 6 roos and 1 hen added to another group of layers, but put the roos in a grow out hutch, planning on freezer camp for them at 7 weeks. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Sounds like a good plan. Florida Living says, do you ever free range your quails? Mine are in rabbit hutches. No, I've never tried to free range them. I don't think they would do very well free ranged. I mean, everything wants to eat quail. They're not very smart. They would not do a good job of escaping from predators. But I know people do them in aviary. I think So and Tear does them in an aviary. So that's like a big, flight pin type thing. That'd be as close to free range as I think you could get away with. But, I may be wrong. I've never tried it, so I don't really know. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got about 12 minutes left. We're doing pretty good. Andy Rabbit says, hopefully the dark helps. Keeping the roosters in the dark. Keeping the roosters in the dark should help, but then again, the roosters especially are much more sensitive to those hormones when they first come of age. So I don't know. I mean, keeping them in the dark should help, but I don't know how much. They're, those hormones that come on when they first come of age, they may override the light sensitivity. I don't know. We'll see. Jupiter says, is there any option to virtually attend QuailCon? I'd love to attend, but can't handle crowds. Oh, I wish there was, but I don't believe there is. I mean, there'll be videos afterwards and video clips and things like that, but I don't think there's a virtual way to attend. We've had a couple of people ask about that. It's a lot of work to set that up, and I don't think it's in the plans at all. Yeah, so in Tara's confirming, he says aviaries work well. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a bad idea. It seems like a great way to do it, honestly. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, if you have livestock, then you have dead stock, Irish proverb. Well, from an Irish rancher friend of mine anyway. Yeah, sounds like I'm Irish, so I guess I could take that and Call it an Irish proverb if I were to say it too, huh? But yeah, that you're right. You're right. If you have livestock, if you have animals, you're going to deal with some of them dying from time to time. It's just part of life. So Don, yeah, you're talking about the Egyptians, huh? So yeah, Don's saying, as hard as it was to get them going and trying to find ruse, I'd rather they go to good use instead of just to the freezer. Talking about the Egyptian ruse that you're saving for Andy Rabbit. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, perfect sense. Okay, we got 10 minutes left, and I've reached the end of the comments. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does sometimes. I should always have this kind of planned out for me to talk about. So instead, let's talk about something else. So I've been getting back into my metal detecting. Maybe we can talk about that for just a minute until we get some more comments come up. Some things I found in my yard. Found a 1944 Mercury dime. That was kind of cool. It was in my back lot. Found a 41 wheat penny. That's kind of cool. Some clad coins, a bunch of trash, whole bunch of trash, some old railroad stuff, I think. Found this old toy spur. That's kind of cool. I don't know if camera's gonna focus on it. There we go. Found this old toy spur back there. It almost wants to turn, but doesn't quite turn. So lots of kids' toys and things like that. This kind of cool old picture frame. I'm thinking that's probably a 50s, 60s picture frame. It's heavy. I don't know what it is made of, but I don't know. Anyway, found a cool old toy token. It was kind of neat. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get the camera to focus. Maybe not see it. It says little trucker gift token for 76 auto and truck travel store from like probably the mid 70s or something. So those are pretty cool things I found. Okay, we got comments. Now we can get back into it. Dawn says, I have some roosters in deep shade without lights that did great through 8 weeks. I have heard that the dark slows down their hormone growth some. Yeah, it does for sure. Roosters and hens, they both rely on the amount of light that they get per day in order to be in breeding mode. My only concern would be young roosters first coming of age. It seems like they're they're just away. It doesn't seem to matter, but maybe not. Andy says, oh, that's cool, Chris. Yeah, it is cool. Jasmine says, that's super fun, the dime. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I was kind of surprised to find it. I've been finding a bunch of, stuff from like the 40s and 50s. My house was built in the 70s, but that back lot was not originally part of this property. So I don't know all the history of that. I know there used to be a railroad that ran across the ditch from my house. My back lot, there's a ditch on the back end of it, and across from that used to be a railroad. There's no longer tracks there. It was taken out. Now it's like a walking trail. So I do find a bunch of stuff that I think is probably railroad trash, just big chunks of iron and, hooks and different things that I think is probably from the railroad, but I don't know. But I've been finding a whole bunch of like 80s, and like I got a change jar started here with a bunch of pennies, and not a whole bunch, but a handful. This is just from my yard. And most of that stuff's from like the early 80s. In the 70s and 60s. I found a lot of that. So I knew there's probably some silver out there, but I was surprised to find a 44 Mercury dime. That's the oldest coin I found in my yard. Florida Living says, I tried it, free range, flew over the fence. Yeah, they're not too smart. Yeah, I can't imagine. It's Diversity Love says, if it's metal, clean it with barkeepers. Yeah, you're talking about the picture frame. It is metal. It's very, I don't know what kind of metal it is. Maybe just a pot metal. I don't know, honestly. But it's pretty dense, pretty heavy. I looked some up online that were very similar to this vintage like this, and they said they were bronze, but I don't think that's bronze. I don't know what it is. It's not magnetic, so it's not steel. It's not ferrous, but yeah, we'll see. Dawn says the hubby does metal detecting. Yeah, I've gotten back into it. I used to do it a lot, but I got back into it. So, and Tara says you need to go looking at the beach. Well, the problem is I live in Missouri. The beach is a long way away, so I probably won't make it there. We do have some Civil War stuff that went on around here, so who knows? I could find Civil War era stuff. Jupiter says, where did you find those treasures? I stepped away for a second. Oh, that was all from my back lot. Metal detecting my back lot. I own the lot right behind my house and the one right beside it. So the two of them side by side. So I've got quite a bit to detect back there. And it does, I mean, Joplin was founded back in the 1860s, I think. But there were people here before that. I mean, there was settlements here and stuff like that long before that. And there was a railroad tracks that ran right through that backside early on. I don't know exactly when, but anyway. Jasmine says, not metal detecting, but I found a couple of spear points on my property. Arrowheads. Yeah, that is cool. I found a few arrowheads before, not on my property, but like where I used to go camping a lot, used to do a lot of fishing down in the Pineville area. I found arrowheads down there, especially after like floods come through and wash away some of the bank. I found arrowheads and things there. Let's see. RBL Jackson says, I moved the bob whites to the outside hutch, but similar to yours, I hope I can keep them from flying out when accessing the pen for food and water. I hope so too. I don't know how jumpy and flighty bob whites are, if you've raised them in captivity. I don't know. Don says he goes to all the swim beaches at the lakes too. Got a secret stream where he finds gold nuggets. Awesome. Andy says, Katrina, no beaches in Missouri. Well, there are, I guess, beaches on the lakes. I guess you could call them beaches. Not really, though. They're not really beaches. Kim says, how much do you feed your quail each day? As much as they want. I don't know. I've done it before, but I can't think right off the top of my head exactly how much a quail eats every day. I just keep their feeder full, just fill it up, try not to let it run out. That's all I can say. They won't overeat. And I don't remember exactly how much it is that I give them every single day because I've done the math on it before to figure out how much they eat, but I can't remember how much that was. Florida Living says, my friend is giving me button quails. I just like their sounds, but they make too small to eat, of course. Yeah, they're pretty small. They're tiny little birds. But yeah, if you want to keep some for pets or whatever, no problem. Just do it. Why not? Florida Living says, cool. I don't know what you're saying cool too, but I'm glad you liked it. And Andy Rabbit says hello to Silver Creek. And so Terry says, Andy, I didn't say where he can come to California. Yeah, I could. That's a long way to go just to metal detect. Probably wouldn't find enough to pay for the trip, but you never know. Who knows? I may make it to California someday. It's been a while since I've been out there. Jasmine says, we got our first quail eggs today from the ones that we're raising. I have more hens than roos at the moment. Good problem to have, I guess. Yeah, I think my last hatch, if you saw my video that I think it got posted today, if you saw my video where I moved the babies out to the grow out pen or to the pen with the adults, I think it's almost all hens, but who knows? Don says, Chris, go to old churches, old farms, and boy parks are fun. Boy parks? I'm not sure boy parks is what you mean. But yeah, I do need to find some old churches, some old farms and things like that. I've got a couple of old farms I could, like the one I hunt. We've been out there with the metal detectors before. Didn't find we found a lot of stuff, but a lot of it was trash, but we did find some cool stuff. Found an old Model T hubcap, which is kind of cool. But yeah, need to get back out there and do it again. It's just too hot right now. Florida says that's cool finds. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool too. I find some old toy cars, some old, some of those things. I don't know where that stuff is right now. I found this, which I thought was a big blob of silver initially, but I think it's aluminum. But I don't know what, it's just a blob of it. So I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's aluminum. Feels a little light. I don't think it's silver, but initially I thought it was. They ring up very similar on a metal detector. Silver Creek Aquatics says usually eagle crest would be bronze, brass, etc. Yeah, I wondered too. I don't know. I don't really know that much about bronze, brass, how to tell. I don't know. I may try to clean it up and see, but it does feel it's very well. It's also got a lot of dirt and corrosion on it too, but who knows? It's kind of cool though. It's just kind of a neat little piece. I think it's probably, like I said, a 50s, 60s era frame of some kind. Kind of cool. It's just out in my yard. So, Don says to Andy Rabbit, I know lots of beaches in Missouri on the lakes. Yeah, there's a few here and there. Andy Rabbit says, I would not mind watching a video on you metal detecting, Chris. Well, maybe I'll do one someday. Who knows? Doesn't really fit with the rest of the stuff, but we can do a video on that every once in a while. I mean, some other things that I do, right? Florida Living says, I need a metal detector that sounds pretty cool. Got an empty lot behind my house. Yeah, here's what I will tell you. If you're not into metal detecting and you haven't done it before, there's a little bit of a learning curve to it to figure out, to find stuff that you want to find. You're going to dig a ton of trash, way more trash than you dig other stuff. And the only problem, too, with metal detecting is that gold sounds the same as a pull tab, like a pull tab on a metal detector. So you think you got a good signal, you dig it up, and it's a pull tab. You'll dig tons and tons of pull tabs. And like aluminum, an aluminum can sounds the same as like a silver dime. So you're going to dig a lot more trash than you do other stuff, but it's kind of fun. It's a good way to spend the day or spend some time. I did go out to some parks. You have to have a permit in Joplin to metal detect parks, but it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So I went and got a permit, went out to the parks. Honestly, not sure. Nobody asked me for my permit. I don't know that I would ever get, the cops aren't driving around. Oh, he's got a metal detector. Let's go check his permit. I don't think, but I went ahead and did it because it didn't cost anything. And, didn't find much there. A couple of, they're all modern stuff, but it's nice to hunt in those wood chips that they put around the playground area. You find a dime or something there. It's just right there on the surface. Basically, it's just under the surface. They're easy to find, easy to dig. Andy says, I don't call lake swimming holes beaches either, Chris. No, well, I kind of think of them as a beach if there's like sand, I guess, but that's not very many of them. So Terry says, my shark has a video about how much feed they eat. There you go. There's a good suggestion. I think I did a video on it at one time too, but it's been a long time ago and I'd have a hard time finding it, I think. Silver Creek says, speaking of cool sounds, we had some Inca dove build a nest in front of our porch. Oh yeah, doves are kind of cool. I don't know about Inca. I don't know what an Inca dove is right offhand. We get mourning doves and stuff here, but Andy Rabbit says, I don't have the desire to go back to California. Well, it's a nice place to visit, but yeah, I wouldn't want to live there. Don says, Lake of the Ozarks has public sandy beaches like we have here. People lose jewelry all the time. Plus, his metal detector works underwater. Baseball and soccer fields. Yep. I can't detect baseball and soccer fields here in Joplin anyway. They put that's specifically a no-no. I could go to some surrounding communities, but Lake of the Ozarks is like a 4-hour drive. It's a ways away. It's a little too far for me to go just to go metal detecting. Andy says, I left the state and didn't look back. Yeah, California is a beautiful state. It's gorgeous, but the politics and all that is just not for me. I can't do it. So I couldn't, like I said, great place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there, but that's just me. Yeah, I got to wrap this up. Now we're like 3 minutes past. Let's see if there's anything I need to get answered. We got Joy here from Western Oregon, says better late than never. Sorry, we're just wrapping it up, but thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Treasure says Florida beaches are a treasure coast of metal detectors. I'll have to check that out sometime, but probably won't be back in Florida anytime soon either. I don't know. Don says, I hate pull tabs. LOL, they tick me off. Yeah, they are. And you find old pull tabs, like the old style that peeled off, but anyway. Let's see. Florida says, I was surprised they laid early, only 3 of them. The rest are 8 weeks. Is it possible that I could breed a button quail with another quail species? I know they say no, but I'm willing to try. No, it won't work. Don says, what brand of detector do you have? Well, I actually bought a new detector. So it's on its way. I'm getting a new one that's a Nocta Legend. That's what I'm getting. But my current metal detector is like a really old. It's probably 15 years ago that I got that. And it's a Discovery 2200 Bounty Hunter Discovery 22. It's a fairly cheap model. It is like $150 model. And it works pretty well for coins and things that are like 3 to 4 inches deep at the most. 3 inches or so is about as much as I can really detect some of that stuff. Andy says make some wall out of the pull tabs. Yeah, that'll take me back to the early 80s. I remember that stuff. But anyway, all right, we got to wrap this one up, guys. It was great talking to y'all. Had a good time. We need to set something up where we can actually talk, like voices. A lot easier, I think, than me trying to read text all night long. But anyway, we'll worry about that later. All right. We'll see you guys next Thursday. I don't see any reason why I should not be here next Thursday. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it so much. And as always, God bless. Take care.